Now let's learn how we can edit these line types as well as line weights. This time I have drawn some detailed lines. Here we have a line in the hidden line style, while the lines that form this rectangle are thin lines. And in Revit there is no polyline tool. If I want to move the rectangle, I need to select all the lines together first, as each line is independent. Now let's go to the Manage tab, Additional Settings, and I'm going to select Linestyles. These are the ones that come by default with Revit. It's possible to modify the colors and the weights, but I cannot delete them. This is important. For example, I'm going to change the hidden lines to red color, and then click on Apply, and you can see the changes. Now, look at the line weight projection. This is quite particular. Instead of specifying a length, I need to choose a number from 1 to 16, and the greater the number, the thicker the lines. If I change this to 4, the hidden lines turned a bit wider than they were before. On the tab at the right, we can set a type of line that we want to use. There is an interesting range of patterns here. For example, if I select dot, it has this format. Now, if you look at this list, maybe you remember that some of the lines that are here were not available to choose when we draw model or detail lines. For example, the lines used for sketch mode are magenta. But if I prefer, I can change the color always when I want. To create a new style, I can go to Modify Subcategories, click on New, and then I can add the name that I wish. It goes to the line category, and at the end, click on OK. In conclusion, if you want to use your personal line styles, I recommend to create a bunch of them, just the ones that you need, of course, and keep the default styles unchanged. And remember that this only applies to the file that you are currently working on. However, a trick to avoid doing this process all the time is creating a template file with all those styles there. Now, let's look how Revit manages line weights. For that, we will go to the settings, which are located just below the line styles. Here we have a very complete table with lots of values. So let's have a look at what they mean. It's easy. The size of line weights change according to our scale. And as I told you before, we set 16 sizes. The values here are annotative. In other words, they are the widths of the lines on the paper when you print a project. I'm going to show you an example so it's easier to understand. The dashed line here is a hidden line. When I access the line styles, I can see it's in the projection 1, the thinnest width. And for the current scale of 1/50, it measures 0.18 millimeters. If I set 3, it measures 0.35, and for 5, it's 0.7. So, this is not hard. Now, pay attention at this detail, it's just curious. Considering the values by default, the smallest scale 1/10 has only 14 different projections because the sizes 14, 15 and 16 are all 9 millimeters. And the same happens on the other extremity. The scale 1/500 has the 3 smaller projections, 1, 2 and 3 as 0.1. And I think less than that value it will get too hard to visualize, so it's not good. Actually, just the scale 1/100 is the only one that has a unique value for all the 16 projections. So, if we want, it's possible to change the line weight values, but I usually don't do it. As we have a considerable big range, probably it will not be necessary to use all the projections. Anyway, to edit a value, it's simple. We only need to click on a cell and type the new number. Okay, I leave it 0.5 as I really didn't want to change it. Then another thing we can do is adding a column of sizes for a new scale. I click on Add, and here I can add a new scale by selecting from the scales that are loaded in this project. For example, 1/1000. And it will copy the values from the closest scale. If instead I add a scale 1/25, it copies the values of the scale 1/20 and 1/50 because they are the same. Then if I think it's relevant, I can change the sizes. So to delete a scale, you just select the one that you want and press delete. So these were the basics about line styles and line weights. You can always play around here, it's kind of fun, and it's good for practicing.